Welcome back to Rural America Live. Tonight we're discussing how to maximize the opportunity in every bag of seed, as well as the best way to bring products to the market with our friends from Rob Seco. All right, we're back with Todd now. Todd, stressors. Stressors that affect a plant through the growing season. And I had to write this down. How can products protect overall plant health?
Really great question, because try as we may as farmers, as a caretaker of that crop, we cannot increase or enhance the genetic yield potential. Doesn't happen. Today's world record for corn yield in the U.S., National Corn Growers Yield Contest, 623 bushel. You think he got it all? And he didn't. So the potential, Rob mentioned it earlier, 750 bushel. How do we maintain that potential? We leave it in the bag. The moment we bring it out into the field and we pour it into the planter box, we put it into 45-degree soil temperature, there are so many stressors out there. Jim mentioned one earlier, and that's the plant-to-plant-to-plant competition. From plant to plant, if you come up 3 days later, it's an enormous stress. Weed competition, heat, wind, cold, rain, dry, insects, diseases. So our total job is to think about the corn, think about corn yield as a math problem. So you have emergence and uniformity. You've got the number of rows around, you've got the kernels in length, and then how many kernels make a bushel. And those periods line up, as you can see on the screen right now. Those are about 20-day periods, and we need to protect those. Jim just talked about the first 20 days. And so we want to move forward and think about the next 20 days, and that's the number of kernel rows around, which happens about V5 to V8. And we're using a product known as NutriBoost Complete. And NutriBoost Complete has a cache of some nutrients in it, and the nutrient package in this material is for chlorophyll. We've made recommendations for 30 years of applications on a farm, and a grower will say, you know what, all that did was green it up. Well, sometimes all we want to do is green it up. That chlorophyll, that deep color is terribly important to photosynthetic activity. But we want to use this product known as NutriBoost Complete for two other parts or components in this solution. And one is an amino acid known as L-proline, and then the other is a phenolic acid. And I'll briefly try to explain what their value is. The L-proline, an amino acid, and so I think about it like an amino acid. Amino acids build proteins. Proteins build all the physical structure in humans and all plant life. And L-proline is the natural defense trigger mechanism that the plant builds all season long. Well, if we apply it luxuriously, it doesn't take energy away from the plant to build the L-proline. It already has it available. And so then when we move to the phenolic acid, you think about phenolic acid like adrenaline. Phenolic acid is what we would call a secondary metabolite. It is only produced upon being stressed upon by some physical attribute. And so then it produces phenolic acid that builds its robustness, its strength, and its ability to fend off whatever the physical stress and then the effect of the environment on that physical stress have on that plant. Right? Then we move on to a later season application, just as we get to tassel, to help protect that backside of life, the size of the kernel. We want to keep that plant alive as long as we possibly can. And we're using NutriBoost NKBS. And simply when I think about NKBS, what are the functions of those major nutrient components? And nitrogen is your builder. Nitrogen is an amino acid that builds protein, again, that builds all the physical muscle in that plant. Potassium is the activator, but it's also very important for drought tolerance. It also helps build lignin that holds that plant up once it goes to senescence or black layer. And then we think about boron. Boron is all part of reproduction. It will help stimulate and elongate the life and the effectiveness of pollen and actually grain set. And then finally, sulfur. Sulfur is all about chlorophyll. Again, all we want to do is green it up.
Okay. Jeff, Todd mentioned earlier planter box, starter fertilizer, foliar applications. Are these paying off in future farm?
That's a great question, because the one thing we've learned from our customers over the past several years, as we've started doing a lot of testing on biologicals, nutritionals, planter box treatments, you name it, is there's so many things in the market today and so many products that come at our customers. They want to know, am I going to have a positive ROI? period. And what we try to do is develop enough proving grounds across our geography where we can demonstrate there is a positive ROI to these products. Tune-Up Plus is one of them that's really a cornerstone of our streamlined portfolio. I talked about Convert earlier as a starter product, but Tune-Up Plus for corn is a planter box treatment, and it's very simple to use. But what it has, it's got a consortium of bacteria to help plants uptake nutrients. It has 2 azotobacters that provide nitrogen fixation. It has Terrasym that helps with emergence, early emergence, picket fence emergence, just like Jim and Todd were talking about. It also has zinc, which is critical for seedling development in corn. And it's got also other micronutrients. So it's really an additional starter that is planter box treatment. And when you look at the results from some of our trials that we've had over the past 2 years, just this year alone, we had an 82% positive result from every tune-up trial that we put in the ground from east to west. That's 7.5 bushels per acre. That's 83 locations across 16 states. So again, we have to demonstrate to our customers that they're going to get a positive ROI out of Tune-Up Plus, for example. The other indication is over a 2-year period, because we're doing multi-year studies on these products. We've had a 76% positive response, 6.1 bushels per acre, 133 locations over 19 states. So for us, this is how we prove that that ROI is real. And I think for our customers, it's really important, and particularly for our ag advisors, our employees, whoever that may be, that we can go out and demonstrate the true value of these products in their fields, in their geographies, in their soil types, so they believe it, they understand it, and what we call it our impact programs. These are our programs that will impact the performance of their corn. So somebody that's starting with Convert as their starter fertilizer, they're using Tune-Up Plus corn in the planter box. And as Todd just talked about, our NutriBoost Complete trials this summer in 2024, we saw a 14.2 bushel increase in corn where NutriBoost Complete was used, and a 13.1 bushel increase where NutriBoost NKBS was used, and that was across 5 locations in 3 states. So we still have data coming in from this year, but again, it's all about being able to prove it to the customer, then make sure that when he's spending his money on inputs, he's going to get a positive ROI.
You know, as I'm thinking about this, you're really describing a full system approach to growers, if you will. I'm going to pick on you again, Jeff.
Yeah.
What is this new go-to-market strategy?
It's something that we're really excited about. It's new for Rob Seco. I took over this role just a few months ago, and Rob and I have talked a lot about, how do we go to market and how do we serve our customers who are highly technologically advanced? I mean, farmers today, this is the most complex industry, I believe, when it comes to technology across the world. You look at the technology we deal with in genetics, in breeding, trait technology, the new biologicals that are on the market, the new nutritionals that are on the market, crop protection, fertilizer, grain marketing, et cetera, et cetera. It's extremely complicated, and there's a lot of clutter out in the market. Our Ag Advisors channel that we're developing right now are what we want to be trusted advisors, trusted local advisors for the farmer, that they can provide those ROI indications on new products, just like we talked about, testing locally. They have a high degree of community. They know the community, they know the growers they work with, they know the topography, they know how the soils produce. There's a lot of different things that they know about that local community that's different than the standard brick and mortar retailer. We know at brick and mortar retailers, we all farm at this table. There's a lot of turnover, there's a lot of different people growers have to deal with. We want the Ag Advisors concept to be a large network of distributors that really focus on a few counties and their key customers that they're there to serve. That's what it's about. So it's about making a very professional sales organization, different from one that the industry has seen, and that we want to drive that at Rob Seco. These are local entrepreneurial individuals. That's really important. They want to build a business. They want to build a business locally. They love their community. They love the growers they work with. And to them, it's really important that they make solid recommendations that are going to have a positive impact on that production. It's local expertise. We talked to Jim about on-farm testing. We want to look at new products that are coming through the pipeline, whether those are seed products or streamline products. We will use our advisors and their customers to help test and look into the pipeline to see, what's coming in the future and how can that benefit my production. And then they have access to all seed and genetic platforms. They have access to all of our streamline products, as well as crop protection and light fertilizer. So they can serve the entire farm for the customer and become that local trusted advisor that can really touch all parts of their operation from a production standpoint and provide great recommendations. And in the end, what's most important is great results for the grower.
The more I think about this, the more it sounds like you're describing kind of a micro retail channel, if you will. And I don't want to put words into your mouth there, but how does that really differ? And I know you've touched on it, but how does that really differ from what exists today?
That's a good question. It's exactly what we've been calling this route to market is micro retail. And the reason we say that is we've met over the last year with a lot of growers, a lot of our dealers and distributors, retail folks from co-ops across the country. And one thing we know is the brick and mortar retail locations are becoming less and less important in the countryside. What's happening is, if you look across the entire Corn Belt, you see what we're calling micro retail. These are smaller, asset-light, efficient operations. It's a warehouse, it's an office, it's a forklift, and it's an individual that cares about that community, cares about his customers and the farmers that he works with, and they're developing their own micro retail location without all the expense that has been put into the system over decades and decades and decades, where we're trying to strip that expense out, make it much more efficient, much more streamlined, direct to the customer, so we can be ultra competitive and we can provide that grower with all the things he needs to be successful. So rather than have to deal with somebody new every 18 months from a local retailer and get to know them and them get to know your farm, you're working with a trusted advisor that you can hang your hat on, and you can darn well guarantee that they've tested these products, they know how they work, and they're going to provide you recommendations that's going to help your bottom line and your ROI on your farm. That's the micro retail approach, and we're really excited to build that out.
Okay, Rob, from a CEO's perspective, and I know we're touching on this already, but an AgVisor's representative, what will they offer that maybe the current dealer distributor channel that we have now won't?
They'll be quite a bit different. I mean, our AgVisor representative will be able to offer all seeds and traits from all the various breeding platforms. They'll be able to offer the streamlined ag portfolio of seed-driven crop inputs, and which I think is a great enhancement to their offering. They'll be able to offer limited crop protection and light fertilizer. And since they're also involved in future farm testing, they'll get the first look of all the new products we have coming out to see how they perform in their areas. And I think it's a vast difference between a typical dealer and distributor in today's environment.
And we're really talking about really identifying those candidates. Okay, Jeff, I'm picking on you again here.
Yeah.
What's that AgVisor candidate really look like?
Here's what I picture when I think of an AgVisor. I think of an entrepreneur. It's someone that wants to build a business, build equity in the business, build equity in the community, and serve the farmers in his local geography, local community. That's an AgVisor. It's someone that, typically today could work at a retail location. They could work for another seed company. They could work in agriculture in many different ways. But they have growers that they do business with, and they're thinking about, I'd love to focus on my customers and not do all the other things that I have to do every day. And I'd love to go out there and represent, our seed brands and our streamline products and crop protection and fertilizer, and spend my time trying to improve the production on my customers' farms. That's what an AgVisor looks like to me. They're invested locally, they believe in the community, they know the agriculture, so they can provide great recommendations, and the farmer is always first to an AgVisor. That's number one. And what we tried to do and what we're doing with AgVisors is we've developed what we call a turnkey approach to becoming a micro retailer. So when you looked at all the seed genetic platforms that we represent, you cross that with all the trait platforms that we offer based on the needs of the customer. You look at our entire streamlined portfolio, then you look at crop protection and fertilizer. If someone was to go out on their own and say, I want to assemble all that myself, that would take years, if you could ever get it done. It would take years to get that done. What we want are really dedicated, qualified, driven individuals that want a turnkey approach. They can get into all four of those categories tomorrow and start working with their customers the next day. That's what AgVisors is about.
You answered the question perfect. By the way, I picked on you a lot in this segment, so we're going to take a quick break, but you're going to want to stay with us because when we come back, we'll be discussing the new innovations and enhancements that are coming to the future farm in 2025. We'll be right back.